Hey guys, welcome to Layman's Terms Podcast, place where we talk about really big topics using the smallest words possible. I'm Danny the bartender.
And I'm Tommy the trash man.
And together we're just two guys trying to explain the ever-changing world around us the only way that we know how. I feel like Tom's got it. Tommy's got some stuff he just unloaded on me that I've got a lot of secret information he's about to unveil. I'm prepared to talk about Elon Musk and Amber Heard taking a shit in Johnny Depp's bed, but what do you got, Tommy? What's going on?
There's certainly nothing exciting other than, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to call myself Tommy the trash man.
I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that.
Well, a career change could be in the future. Ultimately, I think, we're union and our contracts and all that stuff. So our contract's up at the end of the year. After I could see them signing another contract, which would ultimately be another 3 to 4 year contract. I could see that happening. But after that, I can't imagine that they would continue it. It doesn't seem feasible. Like we're one of the only small towns around in that vicinity that still do it.
Oh, you think that this is not the conversation we had the other day. This is just you think that they might just not renew the contract.
Well, no. So that's one element of it. That's kind of like kicking me in the ass. I mean, like, dude, I'm going to be 42 in June. What are you going to do here? You know what I mean?
I hate these 40s, bro. I don't like them. I thought I was like ready for it. No, I don't like it.
Well, dude, it's weird because like, bro, like, I mean, what are you, 40 or 41, right?
40. I'll be 41 in August.
Okay. So, I mean, dude, that these next 10 years are going to go quick. Like 9 years. And then you're going to be 50 and you're like, and listen, all the cool kids are saying, 50 is the new 30, whatever. It's the new 40, whatever that Cosmo, bullshit articles that talk about whatever. But the reality is, dude, like, I mean, listen, my job's physical. You're on your feet all day. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know what 50 is? It's 50.
Yeah, it's 50. I mean, there's no
and 40.
I listen, one of the guys I work with just turned 50, a couple of other guys, and he looks good. You know what I mean? He's still in good health. Like, dude, the guy that I replaced to take this job was pitching trash. He was 62 years old. So he was working there 5 years. He might even been a little bit older, 63. But the crazy thing is he was old school and he did it. I think his dad owned a company when he was a kid in high school. So he would pitch trash before school in high school for a couple hours and then go to high school. And then, he grew up in Southwest Philly where we did. And he was like a manager at General Electric and all that stuff. And then when they closed that plant, he retired and all. He started out, I guess he did some other things. He went back to school, all kinds of crap. But then, he lived in
Saki Bomb.
He worked with us for a little bit. And then, that was that. But anyway, I just, I'm having some issues with my boss. So there's little things that residents can complain about, complaints that we get like a trash man would get. You threw away my can. You broke my can. You didn't take my trash because whatever, like that. Maybe your can's too heavy. Like we just had a shit ton of rain. You know what I mean? And then you don't have a lid on it, and it's just 150 pounds because it's all water and some trash. And another complaint sometimes is you're blocking my driveway. So like, when you're moving down the street, you're just working, you're talking, you're fucking slinging trash. Sometimes you have a tendency, you're not paying attention, and maybe you'll put the can back where it's kind of like in the driveways, it's blocking the driveway. So that happened we did it to my boss. And my boss came back and gave us major attitude. And it turned into a shouting match. And my thing is this. If Danny the bartender has does something wrong. It's much more, it's a lot easier if your manager comes to you and says, hey, Dan, listen, you made this drink wrong, or you did this wrong. Like, not coming back and berating you and screaming at you in front of other people. And especially if it only happened one time. It's one thing if like they came to you and told you multiple times, and on the fifth or sixth
No,
time,
when you told me it, it sounds like it sounds like like the king, like it's such a stupid thing.
exactly,
And it's like,
exactly,
I feel that's something that where you go like, yo, dude, you left the fucking trash can in front of my house, like in front of my driveway. Don't do it again. Like you do it again, you do it 3 times. It's the 10th time. Maybe stuff I don't think it's ever justified to be in a screaming match, with your boss, but maybe on a 10th time, everything's become a little bit more, easy to rationalize. But that sounds like King.
exactly. Like, you're on a power trip, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and to me personally, like, I don't take that shit lightly. Like, I have a problem with that because I don't like to talk to people like that. You know what I mean? And we get a lot of that. We get a lot of, we get a lot of shit where our boss is like, what are you, stupid? What are you, this, that, and the other? And it's like, you can only take it for so long. So it was Friday, and he goes, you can stay all day. And he let some of the other guys go early. Whatever, bro. Like, you're not breaking me. Like, all right, whatever I got to do. Like, you know what I mean? So then Monday morning, I come into work, and he calls my driver the driver of my truck. And he says, make sure you drive all week, which means, you know, we've all been there for a couple of years. Most of the guys on the back are younger, 23, 24, 25, and they've only been there a couple of years. So they're still young, and, they got a spry in their step. You know what I mean? Like, they
Yeah,
got pep in their
they
step.
still think they're not going to do the job forever.
Exactly. I've been doing it
I'm just
15.
doing this.
I'm 42. I've been doing it 15 years, and my body don't hold up like it used to. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so a lot of times the drivers of the trucks will switch up with the guys on the back, just so even the drivers, like, you're driving all day, even that kind of gets your back stiff. Like, so you'd like to kind of get out and get some steps in, get a little exercise. So we split it up a little bit. Like, they'll do a couple streets and help us out. You know what I mean? And he didn't say that to the other truck. He didn't give that message to the other truck. So that is just something in spite me. You know what I mean? So he's just trying to jerk me off. I'm on vacation this week, so I just got to reevaluate my future. And it's tough. It's tough at 42 because, the one thing about Trashman, and funny thing is, PragerU, I was watching some stories today, and they're talking about free college. And the guy was like, Will Witt was like, if I'm a trash man and I'm making $150K a year, do you think, like, it's fair that I pay for somebody else's college? And I'm thinking, well, where are you working?
Yeah, where are you working at, dude?
For 150,000. Now, New York, they probably, trash men could probably make over 100 grand a year, but the cost of living is super fucking expensive. So
I thought Philly trash guys make a lot of money too, but
they probably, I would say they probably make about 60.
Well, I think from what you've explained to me before, and and if I'm wrong, just tell me I'm wrong. We'll move on. But what I think is, like, they've done it a different way, like the way they're doing in the county. But you were telling me, like, you signed this contract, you're actually, like, not a city employee. I think at one point you were like a city employee and you were there for like fucking 30 years. You were making mad money.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm pretty sure the city guys in Philly are union.
Well, that's the thing, and it's like it's like a job where you probably start off at like a decent hourly wage, but if you're there forever, they probably are making some kind of sick money.
And also, I saw those guys out in Philly, like, they're not hustling because they get overtime. Like, certain situations like that, they know they can milk shit and get overtime. You know what I mean? Like, whereas, like, us, we're on a tighter budget. And what comes into play is, you know, I don't pay for my benefits and I get a pension, right? So that's huge, you
Yeah.
know. Uh,
But
but that's
another thing, when you said like reevaluating your life, dude, I think the scariest part though is like either way, it's kind of where I'm at now. Is like because I keep looking at that 10 years, like we're talking about, you know, you're gonna be 50, whatever. And it's like I literally know now that I don't want to fucking do this what I've been doing for my whole life anymore.
right.
However, it's like, what do you do? Like what, you know, what am I going to accumulate as a, you know what I mean? Like I'm not about to go start working at a bookstore or something or fucking, you know,
Right.
start fucking working the fries over at Wendy's or something.
Well,
So
and
it's a tricky thing. And then it plays on you because you're 40 and you got to take that, like anything I can think of to go and be a rookie at. It's like a 40-year-old does not get a lot of fucking like, I'm not going to be like the guy where they're like, let's hire on this young kid with some potential. And any job you get, you're going to want to be, they're going to want you to be the young guy. Like that's the other scary part that people don't realize is reason why it's harder for someone like us to get a job somewhere is because if you're hiring somebody, you want to hire somebody. It's sad to say, but you really want somebody who who is not going to feel like an authority. Like if you go get a job and some 35-year-old's like, okay, good, I'll start you off at, you know, you'll be a bar, you know, let's say you want to be in the restaurant business. It's like, we'll start you off as a bar back. It's like going to be real hard to keep telling this 40-year-old man what to do. And then at the same time, you want a guy to come in and do all this shit so that somebody doesn't have to do it anymore. And you don't want to hire some guy who's like, you know, my back's hurting me.
right.
So it's a tricky game.
I mean, listen, I was just talking to a buddy of mine. It's in the heating and air conditioner, like, uh, you know, union. And he's like, dude, like we get guys in their 40s that come and become apprentices. So, I mean, it's look, we had a guy that left us at 47 years old to go join Aqua, you know.
I'm
So
thinking
like,
about OnlyFans, bro.
yeah, cash me outside, bitch.
Dude, I'll finger my asshole for a couple bucks a week.
Unfortunately, bro, I don't think the money's in it. It's like porn stars. Like all the money to be made is with the women.
Yeah, there's
Dudes
no
don't
fucking
make shit.
jobs.
So yeah, there's my big dilemma. You know what I mean? But I have to consider. I mean, the one thing is I do have a CDL. It's Class B, so like that's good. So I have options. But it's like, you know, I had somebody who was like, well, you can make $35 an hour, right? Which is more than what I make now. But then it's like, all right, then I have to pay for my benefits though. And then I was looking up prices of benefits, and you're talking, you know, 500 and some dollars a month. So that's six grand a year. So it's like, all right, most of the money that I'm making now is just going all to benefits. You know what I mean? Like the hourly rate sounds higher and it sounds great, but then it's like I don't have that. I don't have a pension. I don't have all the sick time. So I don't know, man. I'm just again, I'm at the point where like physically it's starting to get to me, mentally it's starting to get to me. Uh and you know, I'm jealous. Like dude, I just had a conversation with a buddy of mine who is a plumber, works for a company, and he's like, dude, I gotta get out of there. I'm leaving. I'm gonna go work on my own. Like I gotta go back to hustling, start like because he had his own business before. But he just worked his balls off and it was tougher. His kids were young and he's like, I I want more money. So like I'm gonna have to go back to hustling and working on my own. And he's like, there's a freedom with that like I miss. And dude, like I give I give him all the credit in the world because like, dude, you could do it. He's trying to pump me up. And I'm like, but I don't have that skill set. You know what I mean? And he's like, oh, dude, you don't need it, blah, 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 blah. Like, just go hustle. Go bartend a couple of days a week. Go then landscape a couple days. And he's like, dude, you'd be surprised at how much money you can make by like hustling. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But like at some point you do want stability, right?
That's the thing. Like, I mean, I could go hustle right now. That's the thing. Like, where I'm at is I could fucking I have the option to hustle right now. And it's not that I don't want to hustle. It's not that I want to be lazy, but I also have an opportunity to I feel like I have to fucking figure out what I'm going to do next. And I don't think that like working every day, doing what I'm doing right now. I mean, that's what I've been doing my whole life. I didn't accumulate really. I mean, I'm not trying to be a downer. I mean, I have things and whatever else, but it's just, it's the stability part of it. Like I worked for somebody for fucking 20 some years who basically kind of shit on me in the end of it. Like, and that's,
Right.
and like, that was it. In other words, like that was it. It was like, oh, really? And then it's like, yeah, it is where you're at. Now, it sounds like I'm being really down on it in the sense of like, look, I mean, I'm fine. People like me. I'm kind of sought after in what I do, but the whole thing is like, I'm not relying on like, I'm not putting my life in somebody's hands to have them tell me at 50, yeah, thanks for playing, bud. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
there's gotta be something concrete. Like, I got into this thinking I was going to, move forward with these people, maybe have them support me, open up a bar. And they didn't support me. Like when I went to open up a bar, they did everything they could to kind of stop that multiple times, really. You know what I mean? Like in some cases, they acted like they were going to help me out and just kind of push the ball along so that the deal was gone, and there was cases where they led me on, and like that's what's gross is like to learn now, like, wait, dude, I gave you like you have like in other words, I could sit here right now and say like you don't have no fucking sympathy for this for a guy that worked for this long, but the whole thing is if they don't, they don't. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you don't have any contractual thing or any stability guaranteed to you, like at the end of the day, if they completely turn on you, it's not even turning on you. It's like they held up their end of the deal. They gave you a job.
Right, right. And like my buddy who was just like, dude, I want to be out on I hate answering to people, this, that. And I really, really envy that. Like he's got a skill that he can utilize and make his own way. And at a young age, I guess I was maybe 19 years old, maybe. And at the time working at a hospital and I was doing all this work and they were kind of short staff and they were putting me in positions where I wasn't accustomed to and doing, and I was getting everything done. And I was running my mouth as a young kid. I was like, oh man, this place would fall apart without me. And the next day, like my manager pulled me in the room and he goes, listen, I heard what you had to say yesterday. And the reality is like, well, we would keep moving. Like if you're here today, you're gone tomorrow. This place isn't going to shut down. It's going to keep moving.
And that's kind of, I didn't get a
And
talk like that, but I got the same. I basically got, I got the whiff of that in how it was. And that's the thing is like where it was like, I still don't believe that's true. There's this whole wave of business people being taught and trained to let their employees know that everyone is replaceable. And that's like the business model now. Like you don't owe anything to these people. It's like, like if you look, like even Amazon's business model in general, like that's why these guys are unionizing. The business model is like you get young college kids in, you put them at the management level, but they also don't want those people moving up. My sister worked for them. And then though you hire a bunch of like people like me and you that don't have the master's degree or whatever else, and they become warehouse workers, but you also make sure that there's no, like you burn them for like 2 years and then you find a reason to get rid of them.
right.
Like there's no, like the whole idea. And the thing is there might be, like in that case, the way that they go about it, maybe the idea that everyone's replaceable kind of is, but it's like that doesn't always necessarily need to be the case. Like there are situations where you should acknowledge what you have. Like in other words, there's no reason to push someone out when they could do the job of 3 people. You know what I mean? Like, but I really believe these people are being taught like don't allow yourself to believe that anyone is, irreplaceable. Like that's a bad, if you're reading like, the business book from Shark Tank or some shit like that, and it's teaching these people that like that's a negative. Like that's bad for business to start thinking like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, dude, it's tough. I mean, I'll I'll find something, you know what I mean? And I'll figure it out. But it's tough, like when you like I said, I mean, listen, even if I wasn't 42, even at 32, it would still be tough. Like, especially me, like I like routine. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, listen, I hate getting up in the morning, but I like you get kind of stuck in those routines, and they're safe and they're comfortable. And in some ways, I like those. You know what I mean? But you're not going to get rich. You're not going to do anything. Not taking chances.
Yeah,
And
I'll tell you, if I could give any advice to anybody out there who's not 40, and that's something we've talked about here before. I wish I understood not like what I wanted, as in like what I want to do, but I think if I understood that like getting rich is kind of it doesn't mean it can't happen and you go for it, but like what is actually financially rich to me right now is so far beneath what I thought it was that I wanted. And I passed it up many a times because it wasn't the rich thing.
right,
Like right now, I'll take a fucking coffee shop. You know what I mean? Like I'll own a coffee shop. And as dumb as that sounds, it sounds, whatever, but it's like I've turned down, like there were many times in my life where I could have bought something like that cash. You know what I mean?
right.
And like I just wish I would have. Like my brother always says, it's like the idea of, say, owning a Subway. You know what I mean? Like franchising like a McDonald's or something like that.
Right.
And it's like I would have turned that down a million times in my life.
Hmm.
But it's people get rich off of those things, and I'm not saying that like that's what I want to do. That's a kind of a bad example. But what I mean
Right.
is, it's like just get a business, like do one of them things if the opportunity comes your way, because there's freedom in it.
No, absolutely. And that's something, I was never much of an entrepreneur, like, but I'll tell you, like, we grew up without social media, you know what I mean? And with everyone that's on there now, and the people and the knowledge, the wisdom that you can get from people, like just giving ideas and whatnot, and inspiring people. I mean, I wish I had Instagram and Facebook and stuff, and being able to listen to some of these people when I was younger. I mean, even just like initially when my boss said that, and on Monday, and I know I'm working on the back of the truck all day, my initial reaction was, I'll just fuck it. Like, he wants to try and fuck me, I'm gonna call out tomorrow, right? But then I'm listening in my head to David Goggins, like in the book that I'm reading, talking about Hell Week, training for the Navy SEALs. And he's like, the drill instructor was on his ass more than anybody. And he's like, I wasn't giving in to him. Like, I wasn't going to let this motherfucker break me. I'm just going to go harder. And when he would tell me to do shit, like, I looked at him and I was like, taken back, but I'm like, all right, like, I'm going to do it. And that's kind of like the mentality I took. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, initially I was going to call out, but I'm like, this dude ain't going to break me. Like, I'm not going to pussy up and be like, oh, I'm taking a day off now.
Yeah.
Nah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I wish I had some people, some voices that I could use when I was younger to kind of inspire me like that. But again, it's not too late. And the one good thing that you and I both have going for us, and a lot of people that are kind of in situations like this,
Our mediocre sized penises.
well, that doesn't really help, but no, but like the fact that we're single, no kids, like we don't really have attachments. You know what I mean? So like that's a big help.
Yeah, and
You know?
it's a big help as far as as far as like being able to change, like, but the whole thing is at the same time, sometimes I envy those people because it's like something that forces you to, like, you got to do things right. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, listen, there's pros and cons to everything.
Yeah,
But what
like
I'm
when we
saying
make a
is,
decision, we're like, well, what all, I can do this, I can do that, I can do whatever. The people with children out there are like, yeah, I gotta make when they make a decision, it's got to be the right one. You know,
oh yeah, like we can kind of still afford to fail
like
without.
think about people that go through what we're going through in our jobs and have children,
Yeah.
but still take the chance.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like still, like there are guys out there. Like, I mean, my brother was one of them where he was working at Sunoco, like the oil refinery, for years, and he was making amazing money. And then all of a sudden, one day there was no oil refinery, and he had a child. You know,
Right. Right.
so I mean, like, and the thing is though, is one thing I truly believe is, you, if you look at anyone around you, like whenever I would look at like my family members that like really did worse than me in the sense of like, like these, like I had family members that were like working at, like, they were cashiers at Clover and working at Falone's cheesesteaks. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right. Right.
And they actually, in the end, when you look at like where they ended up, I mean, yeah, I don't like, it's like I look around and I see that a lot of people in the end, they get what they wanted,
Right.
like a small piece of what they wanted. And
Right.
so I do believe that as long as you just don't give up, eventually things will go your way.
No, I agree, man. Like I said, so on vacation next week, we're trying figure some things out. Doctor's got to stick his finger up my ass, check my
Ooh,
prostate. So
man.
that's like the highlight of my week. Again, that's what being 42, you get to that age range. Like those are the types of things you get to look forward to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, but then the other big news is, so I tossed around to the theater about doing like a Halloween special, like having a show in October, doing the whole Halloween theme, like really kind of like going all out. Now, there's certain theaters that do that, like Rocky Horror Picture Show is a big one, right? So like every Halloween, certain theaters they usually do that, and it's a huge draw. Uh, so I was like, "Oh yeah, like let's try something." But it's kind of tough to fit in with scheduling because they also have a December show, and the Christmas shows are big draws. Like they're usually big money makers. Uh, but they're like, "All right," so people on the board, like, they loved it, they loved the idea. So I was kind of tossing around some ideas, and I said a certain show called Veronica's Room. Uh, and it's a little fucked up. So I was like, my buddy who sent it to me a couple years ago, he goes, "Dude, I really like the show. I just don't know that they would do it." So I got a phone call the other day, and then I just talked to somebody today. So it's about a 90% chance that this is going to happen
Nice.
in October, and I'm going to be directing. Uh, and basically the story is, well, let me see if I can tell this correctly. I didn't finish reading the script, so I don't know all the details. But the gist of the story is this young couple are at a diner. This old couple see them, and the girl there reminds her of someone. So she asks her to come back. This person died. I believe the girl's name is Sissy. No. I'm sorry. It's not Sissy. Uh, so they convince her to come back to the house. They bring her to this girl, Veronica, in her room, and she's dead. Now the girl Sissy is her sister who's like dying. She's has some, she's not completely with it. And they dress her up like this girl Veronica. They want her to see Sissy because Sissy's dying and she's upset that she doesn't see her sister anymore. She thinks her sister's angry. So she's like, "All right, this is kind of weird, but all right, I'll do it." Uh, and they dress her all up. They dust off the room. They kind of spruce everything up to look just like how it was. They lock the door behind her. And then when they come back, she brings Veronica like a peanut butter sandwich or whatever. And she's like, well, where's Sissy? Like, who am I supposed to meet? And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, we have to call the doctor? So they try to tell her that she's Veronica now.
Wait, is this like all about gaslighting?
Well, in a sense, it's kind of gaslighting, but so it's a psychological thriller. So basically, they're telling her that she's this girl, and she's like, no, I'm not. Like, what the fuck is going on? Where's the boy that I was on a date with that you told me was downstairs? And this couple now, who was like this sweet old couple, is calling her crazy. They're like, you're crazy. Like, you need to stay in your room, like, do all this stuff. And this is where it gets really dark. Whereas, like, I believe, because I haven't finished reading the script, the older couple are brother and sister. They had a son, which is who this girl was out on a date with.
Nice.
So there's incest, and
you got to explain all this to the guest.
And then there's also there's also necrophilia. So apparently,
nice.
They there's, I don't want to give away all the, not that the listeners are going to come see the show. Oh. Some of them may, but
this is very intriguing.
It gets really dark. And that's why, like, when my buddy gave it to me, he's like, dude, I don't know that we can do that. Like, it requires nudity. We're already discussing, like, that's probably not going to happen. So,
but the cool part though is that I think that I was saying something like this to you before, but like with a totally off the wall kind of way. But like with this one, it would make sense. I mean, it would be cool to like change it, like adapt it, like,
oh yeah,
take a look and see like how you can get rid of the necrophilia and maybe make it something else and have it still work. And
yeah, I mean, listen, we'll see. But I'm kind of stoked about it because this I already have some music and some other ideas already picked out. So we'll see. I mean, I think it could be a pretty good show.
Last Dance with Mary Jane by Tom Petty.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be tough. So this is the tough part about shows like this is they're not well known. So like people aren't gonna come out. It's a major difference from directing Steel Magnolias, where like we were selling tickets out like crazy because people know and love that show. Now, like, people don't really know this. So I'm just gonna have to play off of the whole Halloween thing and really hope that
they'll be coming in there like, oh yeah, last year was Charlie Brown's Halloween, whatever. And then what's Veronica's room about?
Yeah.
Necrophilia.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see what happens and people's reactions. So that's cool. And I'm excited about that. And right about that time, maybe, who knows, I'll be promoting on Twitter, because I'll be able to say whatever the fuck I want again.
Yeah, well, I didn't tell you this. It was not a big deal. And I kind of like, it's almost whatever. But so I opened up my Donald Stuff account. I was like, I'm going to get back on with Twitter, try to get the Donald stuff going again.
Well, dude, was it banned?
No, but I got instantly fucking locked out of my account.
Oh, just recently?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'll tell you what I posted, because I don't know if you've been paying attention to Twitter, but like you can kind of post whatever you want now, like as long as it's not crazy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I don't think that like it's like the post that they left up, I think it was more because of who I directed it at or something. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So here's what I posted. But the funny part is, all right. So I got fucking banned for this. I'm back, baby. The pandemic started in China. The 2020 election was stolen. Hunter Biden is a crackhead bagman for his corrupt father. And then I put at Joe Biden. I was like, ivermectin is a drug for humans. Hydroxychloroquine is not a bad word, and much more to come. Thanks, Elon Musk. and I was instantly fucking banned.
Well, we probably would get banned off of YouTube just for you
Saying that. Yeah, that's why I was like, whatever. But here's the thing. You actually can't, like, the thing that I thought was weird was they're not, like, I think somebody, it was either, I don't know what happened, but like, you can say that stuff now. You can.
Right.
So, and I also, if you like think about how I worded some of the stuff, like hydroxychloroquine is not a bad word. I said ivermectin is a drug for humans, whatever. But I know whatever. However, I was very nervous after that. I was like, dude, they locked me out of Twitter completely. Like I couldn't even get on our account.
Oh,
And
really?
I was like, all right. I was like, but I wasn't, there's no problem with our account, but I just could not, when I would open up Twitter, it was just a screen, like you're locked out. However, it was not, it did, like if I went on my computer, I couldn't get into it from my phone. Like it would not allow me, whatever. But if I went on my computer, I could go into like the other accounts. I just couldn't touch that one, which is, I don't know. It could be like a little bit of both. Like it was, I think it's because I put it at Joe Biden, but either way, either way, it was just a joke. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what's messed up is like, it was a joke. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't.
I feel like when Elon completely takes control again, that'll be okay. But I feel like until that time, it's like a bunch of people that have Tourette's that have been muzzled. And like once Elon lifts that restriction and takes those gags off, they're gonna be like, "Shabba, fuck you, cocksucker!"
Well, I've seen everybody put. The thing was the things that I actually said there. Right. I've seen everybody post that. Like in other words, they might not have posted it all together like that, but like I started seeing tweets where they were saying, this, that, and the other in independent sentences. Like everything I said there, like ivermectin is like people would be like, hey, now that Elon Musk goes, can I type, ivermectin is worked for COVID or that like, in other words, like I can understand somebody going like when I said the pandemic came from China, right? Like,
right.
Maybe that's bad to say. However, that's not bad to say. That's not even bad to say. Like it's common knowledge now, and you can say that on Twitter before Elon Musk bought it. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I think it's going to take some time. I mean, I don't think.
Oh no. Well, I just 100%. However,
because has the deal officially gone down?
No, the deal's officially gone through, but I heard they have us up to October. There's like in other words, the deal's done.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you know about it, but basically, like whatever Elon Musk did, he locked the code people out of the algorithm.
Okay.
And a lot of people have noticed that if you look it up, like Tim Pool and everybody's been talking about how if you start following people, they're like all of a sudden, all these conservative famous people are like, bro, I just gained like 200,000 followers today. And then people were like sizing it up where they're like, well, this many people didn't come on Twitter today. So what the hell happened? And so what people believe in theory is that at Twitter, they realized that there's some things that they did that they don't want to be seen.
Right.
Absolutely. So they took those things off.
Right.
Now to where I might have got banned, I think that like you're saying about this deal hasn't gone fully through. I mean, the Twitter rules are still the same.
Right.
So like an algorithm might have just picked up what maybe it was just too much. It was like, wow,
Well, again, it was like Tourette's.
Yeah.
You had Twitter Tourette's.
Yeah. But like the thing is they left the other two tweets up where I was like, bring back Alex Jones and put an Alex Jones thing up and something else where I'm just joking, but they left it up. Or actually the tweet that they left up, I'm not going to read it, but I just want to see something. But they like, that's why I think it was what was directed at the individual.
Right.
Was because the very first one I put up that didn't get any attention was the same thing. Bro, actually, it was the same thing. And that tweet's still up. I said, the same thing about the election. I said the even worse. I said the Kung flu came from a lab leak in Wuhan, and Hunter Biden's laptop was always real, and that's still up. But that one that I said before and fucking and added Joe Biden, they were like, take it down. And they made me delete the tweet. What a fucking sick thing they do. They make you delete your tweet like you need it's that brainwashing crap. It's like you are deleting your like they won't let you have to delete it. Like how about you just say you can't post that, delete the shit, lock me out of my account, and then let me back on. But no, you have to delete it. Like you have to acknowledge that you have been a bad boy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like what the hell? But how about the fact that Elon's getting attacked from every which angle right now? How gross is it, dude? It is disgusting what is going on right now. And it links back to what I said a long time ago and been saying. And I actually even said it about Twitter. And I also said that somebody could buy Twitter, which would be amazing. Which the thing that sucks is we have so many episodes that are so long, I can't go back and find which one that they were in.
Right.
But I mean, I remember we were talking about how Twitter went down when they took Trump off. And I was saying to you, like, dude, there's no business model that's like that. And how about what you saw when he was pulling out? Like, in other words, they were literally about to put a poison pill in place that would kill their business.
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing to do with money, bro. They didn't want to let go of power. And Elon Musk was so genius in the way he did his plan. I mean, like without like trying to, I can't even dissect it, but I can just tell you that if he didn't do the things he did, however he did it, they like he just played, three steps ahead of them. It was insane. And it's not like I'm saying like I could lay it out for you because it's a negotiation. It's like, I don't know, like sometimes a guy can negotiate a certain price for something and other guys can't,
Right.
The way he did it, he laid it out where like I really think what he basically knew he was doing in advance was he knew if he put them in a position that they would be in a position where the only way that they could rebuke his deal would be to show their hand that they like that would then get them in trouble with the SEC for not doing their fiduciary duties to the shareholders.
Right.
But it's like if he would have done that, if he would have like misstepped at all, they would have had to do is say like, oh, like they could have gotten out of it, but he did everything right by like acting like he was going to get on the board and then not getting on the board last minute. Like I'm telling you, all that was he knew he was going to do all that before he did it. And I was the most impressive part about the whole deal was that he didn't even up it. Like somehow he ended up inking a deal without ever raising the price.
Right.
Which was genius.
Yeah. I mean, listen, what's crazy to me is, well, I shouldn't even say it's crazy. It's not crazy. Nothing's crazy anymore. It's just like par for the course. You know what I mean? Like you just hear the left's complete meltdown over it, whether it's The View, MSNBC, CNN, and these people. It's like, we do live in America, right? So, and like, you don't understand how freedom's like free speech works. Like they talk about it as if this bad thing. And they're like, oh, like one woman on The View was talking about how it's like it's a space for white supremacy and it's all white privileged males. And it's like, first of all, you loved it a couple days ago. Now all of a sudden you think it's this white racist. Like, I mean, he's never
and
he's never
nothing's happened.
Right. Not only has nothing happened, but like Elon Musk, he's never come out and be like, oh yeah, like I'm a conservative. I don't know how he votes. He certainly has made jokes about Biden and things like that. But it's like all he's saying is he said I'm not quoting him, but he had an issue with the fact that social media companies had an impact on the election and they were covering up evidence. And he was like, this is wrong. It needs to be fair. Like both sides need to air out all their dirty laundry. You know what I mean? which that only benefits everybody. If everybody's fully aware of the dirty shit that the Republicans are doing, the dirty shit that Democrats are doing, that's good. Then we can make informed decisions.
Well, this goes back to the kind of things where you've said to me before on here about certain things where you're like, yeah, well, we did the same thing or whatever. And I understand that you acknowledge it's different, but like this is a perfect example of the reason why it's not it's somewhat the same, but it's not. And the thing is they're acting like we were acting, right? Like, yeah, we did the same thing when whatever, blah, blah. But the difference is like as they picked us off one by one and canceled us and told us what we can and can't say and had us, suppressing our speech. Meanwhile, now nothing has happened and the left is acting like us, but because they're afraid not that they're going to be silenced, but that they can't silence us anymore.
Right.
How gross is that?
Right.
And then my favorite one is the video I sent you. I'm not sure if you watched it or not, but the guy literally says that the same, like, think about how many times we've even talked about like shadow banning, how like it's even hard to explain because no one on the left even like cares or listens to you when you try and say like, yeah, but I'm tweeting and nobody's liking it. And they're doing this and that. And it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like they were acting like we were crazy.
Right.
And then Elon Musk buys Twitter and does nothing to anyone. And he's not a fucking far right guy. He basically said he wants everybody to say whatever. And immediately the guy on MSNBC is like, well, this is really dangerous because he could go in and set an algorithm that kind of suppresses a voice maybe that he doesn't like or a candidate he doesn't like and turn things up on a candidate he does and do sneaky little things. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly like I, for the first time, I'm starting to understand what people mean when I first started getting into this kind of stuff. People would always say they project. Like there's been so many statements like that you think you understand, but then when you really start to think about it, like I don't really understand that. What do you mean they project? What do you mean they project on the you what they're doing? But like now I finally understand. It's like they are basically fearing what they do happening to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And maybe to move it a step further, it's more like they're projecting onto you what they would do to you. So where I say I understand it more, it's like it's not that they're doing something deceitful or that they're doing something nefarious. They just assume that you're like them. So it's like, well, if I had that power, here's what I would do. So therefore, that person who I believe is worse than me is definitely going to do it. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's the thing that's the thing that makes it so hard is because that's really what it is. Whenever you see all these things that we've seen, this white guilt shit that they push on people and all, it's them. Like, in other words, it's people like me and you that are like, I don't know, I don't live my life like that. And it's them going like, no, it's true. This is what's going on because they are thinking about shit that they've done. You know what I mean?
And they force you to say like you gotta be an ally. You have to say all of the words that you gotta repeat all the slang, all the lingo. And you're like, well, no, I mean, I don't know. This doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like it's not. It's just
like it's like imagine a thief just assumes that everyone else is like the thief can't see that he's wrong, so he just assumes that everyone's a thief. So when he gets caught out as being a thief, it's like, yeah, okay, like now I'm doing a good thing by saying that I agree that I'm a thief, and so is everybody else. And now, now I'm going to force everyone else to say it, but not because I'm crazy, not because I have some trick up my sleeve to make you do it. It's literally because I can't see beyond it. Like, yeah, I'm a thief, but I'm better than these other people, so they're definitely thieves too. So they better own up to it. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's there's a lot going on with that. I'm not even on Twitter. I mean, I was on there for a little bit and then I just was like, I don't know, it's not my cup of tea. But I think it's refreshing that, you know, we could potentially have a social media platform where there is legit free speech and we don't have to worry about, you know, Biden's laptop being covered up or the next scandal. Like, I mean, I think it's I again, like I saw a poll where they said like 16% of Biden voters said that had they known about the Hunter Biden thing, it would have swayed their votes.
And look where it is now. Like, dude, there was a time where, like, remember, we had to say, like, I was even arguing with you, like, the shit's real, dude. Like on one of our episodes, it was like, yeah, well, you know, because it wasn't, but I remember actually playing the director of national intelligence coming out and like against the 51 people that signed the letter, and the acting director of intelligence, who of course is not going to be believed because he's a Trump guy, I guess.
Right.
But he was like, this has never been said that it's Russian He didn't come out and say it's real, but he's like, this is no one. It's not Russian disinformation.
Right.
But either way, what I'm getting at is, like, now here we are 2 years later, like, people are still sending me shit like, yo, look at this. And it's so gross to me that, like, somebody will send me like a New York Times article showing like an exchange between like a New York Times going newly reviewed emails. And I'm like, I saw that 2 years ago. And
Right.
again, I'm not trying to say how many, that's what's making this crazy for me is, and I'm not saying because I'm all up to date on the shit. No, what I'm saying is, going back to like our R. Kelly conversation, it's like, if we knew about it, if they were talking about this guy being that way when I was in high school, if I knew about it, a guy who had no fucking inside knowledge whatsoever, and then it comes out that it's true, it's just kind of weird. Like, how can, it's not that I'm saying I knew about it. I'm saying, if I knew about it, how are these people acting like, how are people in his inner circle acting like they just found out about it?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it's just weird to me that the New York Times journalists are just now showing something and I'm supposed to go, ooh, wow. And it's just so weird to me where it's like, how did I see something 17 times before the New York Times did? You know?
Well, it's not again, it's money, it's corruption, it's power, influence, you know. I'm sure there was plenty of people that knew about Harvey Weinstein, about R. Kelly, but it's just a matter of like, do I say something? Do I step on a line and you know, lose a job or risk my reputation? Like, how, you know what I mean?
No, no,
Like,
100%. But the sad part about it all is that, and as you see with the media right now, like, it's so sick that, yeah, of course, like, if you're in Biden's inner circle, or if you're a politician, so be it. But the media is not supposed to be like that. Like, this
right.
goes back to what we've said before too. Like, that's a juicy story. Okay, there has been newspapers that have like made all their money on just being the first person talking about the juicy story, you know? And even as you see, like, in other words, the same newspapers that, like, the Atlantic, coming out and saying, yeah, well, it's not that we think the Hunter Biden thing's not real. We just think it's not interesting. We've been talking about fucking Johnny Depp and Amber Heard for fucking 3 weeks now. And to be honest with you, there is some interesting stuff. And I'm not saying, like, what are we looking at this for, or what, you know, whatever. I'm not trying to make some conspiracy that this is being inflated for whatever reason. No, but what I'm saying is, how is there's a shit in Johnny Depp's bed, which is amazing. However, there's like 100 shits in Hunter's bed in on his laptop. Like, there's 100 juicy stories in there, and you could sell newspaper after newspaper. But the thing is that we keep getting disconnected from, not me and you, but I think that it's easy to get disconnected from, is the media's job. They're our eyes and ears. That's what they're like having. That's what a free press is for. The reason why having a free press is, it's not that it's important, because that makes it sound like it's an option. Like, it's very important to have one, but if you don't, no, when you don't, you're North Korea. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of the press is like they're supposed to be the ones drilling the people in power. And then eventually, like, if you look at anything that's ever probably any big story ever in history that ended up either taking down a like Watergate, if the journalists didn't do their job, Nixon would have never had to resign. It was only because journalists doing the job for us that we can't do, that we don't have access to. That's why they have special access. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, dude, the journalists, the media, I mean, they were the eyes and ears of the people. Like, they were the voice of the people, and now they're the voice of the party. And it's sad because, you don't, that's what's causing so much conflict with the rest, with the people, you know what I mean? So, um, and there's really not much conspiracy stuff to talk about. Like, when it comes to Johnny Depp, what's conspiracy about it is, like, when you see this trial's everywhere, right? Like, all the details about it, and yet Ghislaine Maxwell was on trial, and what are the details?
Yeah, and
Like,
it wasn't this is what I thought too, is like, again, the reason why we're watching Johnny Depp's trial, like, is because people in the media demanded it. Like, that's really what happens. I learned that from this is how they constantly keep, like, the Ghislaine Maxwell thing. When I said, why is that not on trial? Why are we not watching that? There were articles and shit from, like, the New York Times saying, like, well, the reason why we're not watching this is because, we like, they didn't petition to do it because they didn't feel, and the judge said this is not in the public interest, and the media accepted that.
right,
However, what I know now with the Johnny Depp stuff is they do that at, like, every trial. Like, Johnny Depp doesn't want to be on trial in public. So it's kind of like you always have to, like, fight to get it. You have to push one leg further to get it on display. And so it's like, again, our media was like, no, that's not the public interest. But Johnny Depp and Amber Heard is. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's crazy. And it's not, and I don't believe it's a conspiracy in the sense of, I don't think, like, then they want us to watch this to be distracted. No, they're actually doing the thing that I would expect them to do, is like, this is a juicy story. We'll get a lot of time. Like, fucking Court News Network or whatever is, like, probably having the best ratings they'll ever have. But, like, they would have had amazing ratings with the Ghislaine Maxwell thing too.
right.
And so, like, don't tell me. So, so it just proves a point to me that it's like, don't tell me that Ghislaine Maxwell is not of any importance, and then the same person turns around and says this is of importance.
Yeah.
And I guess we haven't talked in a while, but about the Taylor Lorenz and Libs of TikTok stuff?
Dude, I I keep hearing the libs of TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. I don't really know, but, like, I keep hearing about all these people talking about it, but I don't know exactly why they're talking about it, or
It's not a long story. I'll just say, because it's not a story at all. It's not on TikTok. It's a person who has, like, an Instagram and a Twitter account, and they just record what liberals say and then play it. So in other words, everything this person is making a compilation of is shit that people are saying on their own accounts. Doesn't even have to be on TikTok. They just call themselves Libs of TikTok, because what it is a montage of, like right now they have montages out on Libs of TikTok of people saying, like, Elon Musk, you bought Twitter, I'm gone.
right.
So they were having montages of like teachers saying, like, here's what I teach my kids, and, explaining to you how a man can get pregnant, or that this guy's a man. He's explaining to you how he menstruates. And so Libs of TikTok just posts what they are saying, like, doesn't even add any of his own context. Anyway, what the irrelevant part is that it's not about them. It's about the fact that Taylor Lorenz is a Washington Post journalist who literally came out like a week ago crying on national TV, being interviewed by like CNN, crying, talking about how Republicans have like it's not fair that that the things they say to her online and that they attack her and that sometimes it gets personal and that they you know whatever and that they shouldn't be doing this. And it was like the whole week it was like all about this poor journalist and how she thinks it's unfair that you know people attack her as a journalist. And then you know it was kind of shifting that sway of like how wrong it is. And then this girl went and outed the person that does libs of TikTok is like an anonymous person and they're allowed to be, and they're not a public figure and they're not of interest. And this girl wrote an expose in a Washington Post and revealed the person behind the account and posted their home address. Mm-hmm. And so I guess what I'm saying is it just like how disgusting is that to be a journalist who your name is on the article and you post shit about people and then you're crying on CNN that like you're taking some guy with no followers and showing like a comment he made to you and you're crying about how unfair it is and it's not right and da da da, and then you turn around and dock someone the next week. Right. It's insane. These people are fucking insane, dude.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like it's one of these things where it's almost like you want to sit people down like that and explain to them like, oh, okay, you're upset that someone made a bad comment about you. Well, okay, but you made a bad comment about this person and published it. So like, how do you
publish their address, their home address?
Right. So it's like you have to talk to them like children and like walk through like, well, okay, it wasn't okay that he said that to you, right? But it wasn't okay what you did either. So where's the mentality at? It's just
people
so
are lost. And the sad part is the real sad part about it all is I feel like they are tools of these other people. Like, in other words, like nobody gives a fuck about what happens to her. The people that she's defending don't give a crap what happens to her. So she feels empowered with all this stupidity that she's like being kind of told to spew or at least encouraged to spew. And then as you see, you know, this thing's coming around. Like the one thing I do love, and this is something we mentioned on here before, like, dude, this wave is coming around in the sense of like, you look at all the people from CNN, like then you have like Chris Wallace, who I hate his guts, and he left Fox and then went on to join CNN Plus, and he was like promoting CNN Plus by revealing why he really left Fox News because of how incorrigible it became to be there with our crazy conspiracies that we believe. And it's like, yeah, now you're out of a job. You know what I mean? Like, like there's so like, even my favorite thing is the Obamas lost their, like it's a perfect example of the money thing we talk about. So there's like a lot of people talking about how the Obamas didn't get picked up for another year on Spotify. Mm-hmm. You see that?
I did see something, yeah. But well, it wasn't the Obamas, it was Michelle Obama, right?
That's Michelle and Barack Obama. Well, they have a movie, they make movies and shit, basically all Netflix. They have their own movie company.
Okay.
But it goes back to what we even said on here before. You remember our conversation where we were talking about how like back in the 50s, you just went through ratings. So some of it might have looked like racism in a way or sexism or whatever. But the whole idea was like, if nobody wants to watch a transgender talk show, it's just not going to get on one of the 4 channels. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then remember we were talking about Netflix where I'm like, where I was even saying to you, I'm like, this is not a monetary strategy. Remember when I went down my little rabbit hole and I found out the guy was like, he was like the nephew of like one of the biggest propaganda guys that like runs Netflix. Mm. And anyway, what happened is Netflix earnings came out, but remember Netflix is giving the Obamas, like they just released something the other day about like national parks. Like the Obamas are getting paid millions of dollars from Netflix to put out movies. but they go over to Spotify and they get $25 million. And Spotify turns around and is like, yeah, the numbers, you didn't really do anything for us, so we don't want to pick it back up. So in other words, I guess what I'm getting at is you go on Netflix and you're like, wow, Obama must be really, like, you start to question yourself. Like, I get, why do I think like not a lot of people like this dude, but I guess they do. And you see all these shows and you're like, remember, that's what I was saying to you. Like, you're not seeing shows that are on that thing because that's what people want. You have no clue what people want on Netflix. You only know what Netflix wants you to see. But if I put on Netflix and the top 5 shows they're recommending to me are like Obama this, Trump's bad, and then some transgender show, you're like, I guess this is what the world is watching. However, when they step outside their box and go to Spotify, Spotify's like, yeah, nobody's watching your show, Obama. So like, we don't want it. And then all the liberals are freaking out going, how horrible is this that Spotify won't pick up Obama's show, but they have Joe Rogan on there. It's like, yeah, you're missing something. Spotify just ain't going to start dishing out millions of dollars to Obama for no reason. They're not getting results. So I don't know. But anyway, with that being said, I haven't been paying attention, but apparently Netflix went from like $700 to like $200.
We talking about stock.
Yeah, like over the past 3 months. They dropped like 40% the other day because of their earnings. But this is what I mean about all this big wave coming around. And we've talked about this on here before, where like Netflix deals are they're crazy. They don't make any sense. Like they're giving people hundreds of $1 million to make a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like basically people, like, in other words, whatever they're dishing out money for, they're not getting a return on it. But yet the reason why they're not getting a return on it is because we have no clue. Like, they're not putting on shows that we want to. When's the last time you were like, dude, I got to get Netflix because they got this series on that I just have to watch? No, when I put on Netflix, I'm like I used to watch it for comedy specials. And then all of a sudden it was like some transgender comedian, lesbian comedian, a Chinese comedian, like people that I don't care what they are, but like, they're not, these people weren't funny,
Right.
And it's like, Netflix was just trying to be diverse and trying to be whatever. And it's like, I personally believe that it's not about money, that there's some kind of propaganda arm in their own way. And when you tune into Netflix and you put it on and it's showing you the top 5 shows, they're not the top 5 shows because they're the top most downloaded. Netflix does not reveal their numbers. I know that from the comedians. They say it all the time. That's one of the reasons why they hate to do a special with Netflix, because they never know how much negotiating power they have with Netflix. Because once you do a deal with Netflix, they have it in their contract that they won't give you any numbers. They won't tell you how many times your show is watched, downloaded, whatever else. So think about that. When you look at Netflix, you have no clue if that movie that's number 1 in their little, like, their little like top 10 movies list, or the top movies on Netflix, that's just the top 10 movies that Netflix wants you to watch. And if you're looking at a board of what you're assuming that this board is what everyone that's watching Netflix is interested in. And if it's all those kind of things that we mentioned, you're going to start to assume that that's what's the culture is really into right now. That's what the whole, United States is really, that's up there because everyone wants to see that. That's not the case,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still have Netflix and Amazon and HBO, but like, I'm watching Seinfeld, you know what I mean? Like, cause I got rid of cable. So I was like, let me just put this on and just let it ride.
Well, what's going to happen, though, I guess the reason why I'm saying what goes around, what's coming around, is like what you're going to see is CNN ain't going away. Netflix ain't going away. But what you're going to see is they're going to have to fucking start trying to get our attention again. They can't hide from the fact that, like, the conservatives actually are like, you know what I mean? Like Fox News blows out everybody else, but yet they want them to just go away. And so what's going to happen is when this new company completely takes over CNN and everything, even if it's a lie, I'm not saying it's going to be good, but they're going to have to start trying to fool us again. Like they're going to have like a pro-Trump documentary on Netflix at some point. They're just going to have to. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't see. I don't necessarily think that it's just conservatives anymore. I think there's a lot of like just middle of the ground, and
Well,
even some Democrats that are just like,
I
what?
used the pro-Trump thing just to give an example, but they're going to have to take out the messaging in their movies that's making everybody sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I think there's a lot of people that even that are leftists that are like some things just aren't adding up. Like some things are just kind of like not real.
Well, and I think that's where we got to is what I'm saying, where it's like even right now, perfect example. There's people that like Elon Musk that are like, there's people that are like the number one people that I'm always concerned about is the person that doesn't give a shit about politics, but still gives a shit enough to vote, you know?
Right.
And so it's like, look, I don't like Trump. Okay, it's fine. You know, I vote Democrat. Okay. But that guy or that person is like last week they were like, man, how about that Elon Musk guy? He's pretty cool, huh? He put the Starlink up for Ukraine and he's SpaceX. Yeah. And the liberals are like, yeah, great job with, and now he's saying he wants to fight Putin and they're laughing about it together. And then like that guy is just like, oh, I guess Elon Musk's a pretty cool dude. And then he's like in the same group of people on like the bus on his way to work a month later. And they're like, can you believe this? He's a fucking white nationalist, conservative, like whatever. And it's like, right. I think that that person that doesn't normally pay attention, I think like 10 years ago, he was always delivered the same message. Like, oh, what's going on? Oh, conservatives, guns, school shooting, whatever else. Oh yeah, man, maybe we should get rid of guns. The message is always going that way. Now that guy is being forced to be confused. Like he was never, that message was always on point. That's the reason why he said, I don't really pay attention, but I'm a Democrat. Like now that guy even that person is being forced to be like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. Like this little message that I'm being hit with once in a while that is breaking through my world of I don't pay attention is starting to confuse me, And that's what I think's going on.
Yeah, and I'm still kind of like on a separate train that's like not totally on board with Elon. I think it's great what he did. I think the dude, his technology is, it's very helpful. It's great in a lot of ways. But like I said on the show before, there's a lot of conservatives in particular and just people in general that are like cheering for this guy. And essentially he's going to replace a lot of fucking jobs with his type of technology. And with that being said, I think I sent the video to you of his wife, the baby mama, who there's a picture of her reading like the Communist Manifesto, and who was basically saying like, hey, AI will help the communist agenda. And she's right. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he believes the same things. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you got a baby with this girl, like, there's probably some pillow talk going on. And I have a hard time that she wants to have your baby, although you are Elon Musk and worth a lot of money, if you don't kind of believe in some of the same things.
Well, where I'll say with Elon Musk, first off, yeah, I mean, I'm not a blind supporter of Elon Musk, but I'm rooting for what he did to Twitter because a win is a win.
Right, right.
But what I have said about Elon, it's the same thing, the same reason why I like Donald Trump. Elon Musk has a fucking beef with the Democrats right now. And this even goes back to things that we've talked about on here, where I was saying a few months back, man, why are they trying to make him a villain all of a sudden? I mean, there's a guy that I like, I say something to him every day on Twitter, Robert Reich, who's like an economist, or he's like a big liberal.
Yeah.
Every day for like the past 6 months, he's like, just remember, today is this day, and Elon Musk made another $10 billion and he could have stopped something and la la la. And like, it's like I started to pick up on the fact that they wanted to make him a villain. And then I was reading somewhere that Musk didn't like Trump. And then just like a lot of other people that Trump did this to, when Trump had some type of like car company meeting where he was explaining what he was going to do, Elon Musk came there and Elon Musk walked away from the meeting and said he thought it was really cool that the president involved them and actually wanted their input and actually let them kind of come up with the plan. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but look at all that they've done. Like if you see what the Dems are right away, they were pushing like electric this, solar this, new energy this, whatever else. And then they had a meeting at the White House about those things, cars, whatever else. They didn't invite Elon Musk. They didn't invite Tesla to the table.
Right.
And so I guess what I'm saying is, look, whether he bought Twitter or whether he's fighting with Dems or not, he was still doing Neuralink. He was still going to wipe out jobs with making these trucks and everything else. Nothing was going to stop that. However, I think that what I look for sometimes is he doesn't have to be a humanitarian to turn around and get so mad and that's what I think Trump did. Like my thing with Trump was always, I wasn't arguing that I think he really cares about everyone. I think that he was humiliated by this group of people that acted like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're just a billionaire, but don't think you can just come into our club now. And so they tried to humiliate him.
Right.
And so he was like, and I really think that he was like, I'll show you how to do your fucking job type of thing. Like you ever get so angry, like you ever have a boss or something that's getting on your ass in the way, not like you talked about earlier, but you have somebody get on your ass in a way where they're like, you know, maybe calling you lazy and saying like, and you're like, I could do this in 30 minutes, whatever. And like, they get you so mad that you actually, instead of like not doing it for them, you do it and you show them that you could do that and 10 times more in the time allotted, you know?
Right.
And I kind of feel that like, in other words, like that's where Elon Musk is. Like he just basically welcomed this barrage of shit coming his way. But I also think that it was coming his way either way because they were making him, they've been talking about him for however long. Maybe that's even part of why he bought Twitter. Like maybe he started to realize some shit, like whatever. But also there's a lot of weird stuff with him and Jack Dorsey too. I think the only reason why he was able to make that deal was because he talked to Jack Dorsey, and Jack Dorsey probably told him exactly what was going down, exactly what was going to happen, and exactly like what the scenario, how each scenario would play out. Like if you buy this, they're going to offer you this, and they're only going to offer it to you for this reason. Like I think that's why Elon Musk was able to place that bid so intelligently and negotiate the way he did was because Dorsey was helping him from the inside in a sense, you know? And the only reason why I'm saying that is just like I think he does care about free speech, but in the sense of like, because free speech doesn't hurt his business. You know what I mean? Right. And in fairness, maybe not having free speech was starting to hurt his business. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like not having free speech was allowing all these Democrats to constantly come out and constantly remind everybody that this dude, you know, made $40 billion and didn't end world hunger again, shit like that. And so he got to basically, if you look at the way the process played out, all these people exposed themselves in the process. Like, I mean, when people are saying you're a threat to democracy by buying a company and then they're rooting for the Saudi Arabian prince who comes out and says that he won't accept your offer for Twitter. And it's like, wait. You don't want Elon Musk to own it, but I didn't know. There's so many things about Twitter I didn't know. All the people on the board barely had any stock. Dorsey was down to 2% and was leaving the board.
Yeah.
And Saudi Arabian princes had control over a public platform of, I guess, media and communication for America that was like kind of swaying the culture in our country. So it's like it's just one of them things where I really think that part of what he did, because what he's going to do now, everybody keeps acting like what's he $44 billion. You watch when he takes it public again, which is what he's probably going to do fast. And if he can somehow show a lot of growth in the platform and come out a year later, he could sell half of Twitter and still own 51% for probably about the price he just bought Twitter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So see what happens, I guess. But going with you and just to end what I was saying, the whole thing is, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things about Elon Musk that I'm not 100% for either. But the bottom line is, one thing I noticed with Twitter is every time I went away from it, I started to realize like there was never going to be something separate. There was never going to be like Twitter is the place where we all come and yell at each other. And whether it's good or bad, that's fine. If you don't like it because it's toxic or whatever, it's not all toxic. I actually what I started to learn was I needed to be on Twitter because Twitter's where you get the information first, though. Whether you like what people are saying about it or whatever. I mean, take it right back to when they killed Osama bin Laden in the Phillies game.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time that people realized how powerful Twitter was, because the whole stadium started chanting that they got Osama bin Laden and singing USA or whatever. And even the players didn't know what was going on. And as much as I would be like, fuck Twitter or whatever, man, I needed to scroll it though, like just to find out what's if you saw something happening or you go right on Twitter and you get the information there first, and then you would get you would see it, and then you would go to 2 or 3 people you trust. And let's just say they, there was something the other day where there was some type of threat in the airspace they were evacuating the Capitol because they saw a plane that was not responding. And I went there and then I went to somewhere else to verify it was true. Then I saw it come in somewhere else. Then I went to people that I trust. And I think Jack Posobiec was like, it's a false alarm. It's people that are jumping out for some game. There was Army helicopter with parachutes jumping out for a game, and that the White House was supposed to be notified. And it's like that happened all within 5 minutes. You would never get that kind of news that fast. So I think it's good that they're going to have at least one place to be possibly free speech,
Right. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm kind of I don't have a whole lot of input on the whole Twitter thing because it doesn't really affect my life much. Other than I do look at it as a major win for free speech and for us in particular, for people that have some quote unquote controversial opinions. I think it's a major win. I wish he would buy YouTube next, but I don't know. That might be a little bit too pricey.
Yeah, I think Google's out. Google will never be able to be bought. But another good thing with the Twitter thing, though, that I've been thinking about, and then somebody mentioned something like it the other day, is the next thing you're going to see that's going to become a problem is Twitter and Facebook. Like Twitter's Twitter, just like Facebook's Facebook. You're not changing it. People are on it. Maybe not everybody's on it, but they also own Instagram. So it's whatever. But what I just said about Twitter keeps other people on Twitter too. People are never going to completely go on Facebook because they don't use Facebook the same way to use Twitter. Facebook's more fun, more whatever, but it's more personal. Like people ain't, and so where I think we're going to end up seeing a problem is Facebook going to stay as user friendly and compatible with Twitter? Like, in other words, you can't post some websites onto Twitter. Like you can't put like Getter, like whether you can now, but like they Parlor, for example, at one point, maybe even still, you couldn't like share a video from Parlor and put it on Twitter because they like don't have compatibility.
Right.
So are we going to get to a place where Facebook says we're not going to, utilize Twitter in that way? Now, remember, people are still going to be on Twitter. Like liberals are still going to do what we did. They're going to say they're not going to go on there, but they're going to go on there because they're going to go on there. They're going to. They're not going to leave in a mass exodus. They're not going to all go on Facebook because they're not going to. They're going to want they want to shout at us, And so, what happens then if Facebook decides like, because they just started the ministry of truth or whatever. I don't know if you saw that, but so now like of course, all of a sudden now that Elon Musk owns this, we are now going to have a group of people deciding what is considered truth and what can be talked about in the United States. So if Elon Musk decides, well, I'm not going to fucking play by those rules, and they probably are going to be allowed to legally to not have to play by those rules, is Facebook going to say, well, we're going to play by the rules, and so if you don't, we can't be compatible? And then what happens then? Is there going to be another line in the sand and whatever else? So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how that plays out, bro. This is all like a little bit out of my range. I haven't really been following. I don't even know what I've been following, to be honest with you. I've been reading a little bit more, and now the script and the David Goggins book, and watching Seinfeld.
Well, please tell me you saw the Amber Turd.
I did see the Amber Turd.
It's the grossest turd I've ever seen in my life.
And I'll tell you what, man.
That's like disgusting, dude.
That is one thing. So like this case right now makes another case for what we were saying. You can't believe all women. Now, obviously, I'm not, Johnny has done and said some pretty fucked up shit himself, like talking about like burning her body and fucking a dead corpse and all this shit. Like, I don't know, whatever the fuck but there's been some audio recordings and everything that certainly doesn't make her sound like any saint. And then she takes a fucking turd in his bed. Like, it's like, bro, like what we were saying months ago when people were going crazy and all the libs were like, believe all women. And it's like, you can't do that. You just can't. I mean, people are fucking crazy. And it doesn't matter if you have a vagina or a penis. Dude, people are fucking crazy.
Bill Burr said something genius. I just like put on this thing. It was like Bill Burr ranting about the Amber Heard thing. And he was like, look, he's like, the bottom line is, and I don't know how this would be able to be, but it really should be, this should be a law for like these women and men, like domestic shit. I understand that, like, say the OJ case, like you can't not talk about the OJ case until it's finished. But like with accusations, like sexual misconduct accusations, it should all be forcibly kept private and out of the press. Like the press should not be able to discuss it until it's maybe like right. Like imagine if you never were allowed, you didn't know what the fuck Amber Heard and Johnny Depp were going through. You knew nothing. And then if you wanted to find out, you tuned in now. All these people that are tuning in are clearly on the side of Johnny Depp. It's 100% on his side. Like I understand he had some weird text messages and stuff, but in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of any of the people that have been watching, like, and Johnny Depp is definitely handling himself amazingly, but there's some stupid stuff that he said or whatever else, but everyone has come in, like cops. And her personal assistant the other day was up there and was like, I've never seen Johnny Depp scream. They're like, has he ever broken anything? They're like, no. They're like, have you ever seen him break anything? They're like, I guess that cabinet in the video I just saw. They're like, but other than that, they're like, no. And then Johnny Depp's amazing when he handles it because they're like, They're like, would you say you were violent in that video? He's like, yes, to the cabinet. Like shit like that. But what I'm saying is dude, she told them like this is the kind of dumb shit she's done with like they asked why she didn't have like why you couldn't see her bruises in certain like they have videos of like her dude they have videos of her bringing James Franco in the house and like him coming over and not leaving for 2 days. Like she fucked Elon Musk. Like I don't know if you know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she fucked Elon Musk. Like so basically she's been cheating on him and he has dealt like he's like in other words he's supposed to be this killer and my favorite Stephen fucking I don't know if you follow this guy, but I don't know why I can't remember his name right now. Stephen Crowder.
Yeah, okay.
He says it best. He's like, dude, she's supposed to be fearful of the guy and supposed to be scared for her life and emotionally distressed. She shits in his bed. And then she says it's a prank. He's like, I don't know about you, but like when I'm scared of somebody, I'm not shitting in their bed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like whatever.
Right.
But the makeup thing is the best one. They asked why she didn't have the bruises, and she said because she used, and they asked like what makeup, and she said exactly because she made a big deal out of it. She was like, I have to use this certain makeup, and it's really good, and it whatever. They didn't make that the makeup that she claimed she used. They didn't even invent it. Like the company didn't make it until like a year after she said she used it. So like there's Johnny Depp has never hit her, never whatever, and at best he's said some crazy shit about her in text messages. You know what I mean? And so I guess my what I was saying by this is like I really believe what Bill Burr said should be some type of truth. Like if there's a domestic, like everything should be kept silent until the end. And when the end comes, and if it turns out that like Johnny Depp is accused of Johnny Depp is actually found guilty of like beating his ex, do whatever you got to do to the guy, take him, can him from all his jobs, whatever else. But because of the cultural and social like complications or repercussions that come from just accusations, these things should be not public knowledge until they become like truths. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's no reason for us to be discussing like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's relationship as long as they're separated, the courts are handling it, and it's under the, you know what I mean? People can whisper, people can whatever, but they should not even be allowed to speak on it. Like if you go to court and you get like you want to take somebody to court for claiming they did domestic abuse, like maybe all your circle could start whispering and saying shit about you, but like it should be like you can't speak out on it anymore. Now it's like you have to plead the fifth to a certain extent in public life until the case is over.
Yeah, and I haven't been following much on that either. So my only take on it was like, like I listened to some of the audio recordings and she sounded fucking crazy. And I'm like, bro, like this is what I mean with the whole Me Too movement and all that crap. Like women are just as dangerous as men. Like we could talk fucking toxic masculinity bullshit all you want. But the reality is like women do a lot of fucked up shit. Women are just as crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And this this one hit a little bit home to a degree. Like again, I'm not really following it too much, but a friend of mine who I was talking to, and she's kind of like in a abusive relationship, and it was brought to my attention, and I saw some things, and I was like, like I was happy for you, but now like I hope you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? And it's like everything looks great, the social media posts, the financial aspects, and it's like how much are you willing to take? You know what I mean? Like I saw some things and I was like, that didn't look good. That didn't look healthy.
And it always seems to me that people that have the beautiful Instagram and all that other stuff. It's like, they're it always, it's like, it's never what it seems.
Well, yeah, and it's just what's wild is it's like, you know, what do you really say to the person? Because you have a conversation with them and they in some ways try to justify it. I mean, it's almost like if Johnny Depp hit Amber Heard, right? Maybe he did. But like, is that after she was fucking punching him and trying to bite off his finger and doing all this like crazy shit? And he finally hit her. Like, is there a certain point where it's okay now? Like, did he defend himself? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not perfect. I'm not here to judge people and their relationships. Like, I think if you're in that type of relationship,
You should just get the fuck out of it.
it's probably like, you know, if you're going to sit there and justify, well, he hit me because I threw this and I said this and I smacked this or whatever, then you got to look at it and be like, no matter what the circumstances is, everything about it is toxic.
Yeah.
So like, this
and
is just not healthy.
what I said to somebody too is like, the worst part is that Johnny Depp probably still loves her. And when you get to that point with somebody where you're like, this was toxic and I'm glad I'm away from you. But at the same time, the only way like you can be in a relationship as toxic as theirs, and if you're a victim, like if Johnny Depp really was, because if you listen to the audio stuff, he's like begging her, like, just please,
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like one of them things where if you left them alone for too long, she would fucking burrow back into him. You know what I mean? If that's what she wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like whatever. But
Oh yeah.
what I'm trying to say is it's like a shame that he's got to be up there, and like, first off, I really feel bad for the guy, because just like the Will Smith slap, it's like Johnny Depp has done so many amazing things in his career, and now we have to watch him say that a girl's shit in his bed, and that's all anybody's going to remember.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like when you have this conversation with someone, that's going through it, it's like, you saw it with Rihanna and Chris Brown. You know what I mean? Like he beat her up. She got back with him. Like they were kind of friends. She kind of got back with him. It's like, you never want to justify any kind of physical abuse, but I don't know, like what exactly, like how do you make a judgment call on that?
Yeah. Well,
You know what I mean? Because especially if the person that went through it, like in Rihanna's case, she tried to justify it in some ways. Like I don't think because she's a public figure, so like she didn't come right out and be like, oh well, I did this, I did that, because she has the image that she has to uphold too. But she was going back to him. She was trying to kind of justify it in little ways. And you're like, all right, well, if that's what you're going to go back to, like, is it that bad? Are you crazy? Is it as bad as we think? Because, obviously the images when that happened, it's just like, oh my God, this is horrible. But is Rihanna an absolute fucking psychopath that drove him to that? Like, it
Well, when
seems
you
like,
say, let me say, so you don't, because I know what you're saying, and I don't want you to look bad in a sense.
yeah, probably.
But just in that last statement, it's like, because I agree with you, but it's like, I guess the way I see it is like, it's never justified to hit a woman, right?
Right, yeah.
Like no guy should hit a woman, period. However, and it goes back to something I say all the time, like there's an absolute good and absolute evil. Like, so the absolute good is that one of the best advice anybody ever gave me one time when I fucking like went off on my girlfriend in public, not like physically, just
Right,
verbally.
right.
And I was like, dude, like, what do you want me to? And it's this older guy that I know, like very older. And he was like, hey, a gentleman is always a gentleman,
Right,
even when a lady isn't a lady.
right.
Right. But at the same time, now, knowing that The absolute good part would be that if I was to be raising my son, I would never say to him, like, it's okay to hit a lady here. No, you just say, you never hit a lady. You never hit a woman, period. But if I was to be presented with a story where my son was being fucking physically abused by a woman and she punched him in the face 15 times and he grabbed her by the throat and threw her against the wall. Now, I wouldn't like to hear that. I would tell him, get the fuck out of this relationship. But I'm not going to be looking at this person like they're a piece of shit. You're left to then like, okay, there's absolute good, there's absolute evil. And then when something finds itself in the middle ground, it's different, and you deal with it. But the thing, like you were saying, where you were like, is she an absolute maniac and she deserved it, whatever? It's not about deserving or whatever, but it's like, what do at some point, you know what I mean? Like, there's women out there where it's like, they'll just, it's like they're egging you on for something. And then somebody might say, well, just leave them or whatever. And it's like, well, this is the fucking thing about love and about feelings for somebody. It's like you could be so wrapped up, and some women are so manipulative that like they'll make you feel like their actions are your fault. And that's never true. Number one, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then if you're gonna stick around with someone the other thing too, I just said there was some type of testimony about a restraining order, a temporary restraining order, and Johnny Depp broke it because she begged a friend of theirs to ask Johnny to come and that he would stay there, and that so he had to testify that like Johnny Depp didn't break the restraining order. He kind of broke it like with her permission. Probably doesn't make it right, but it makes it whatever. And I said to somebody, I was like, they always get people with that, but it's like, if somebody ever does that to me, like my response is going to be, go drop the restraining order and I'll come see you. You know what I mean? And the reason why I'm saying that is like that restraining order shit that people get on people, when you can get that for just like a weird text message. If I texted you or called you 5 times in a row and you didn't answer, you can go down to the court and be like, this guy called me 10 times, left me a message, said I fucking hate you. They'll give you a restraining order. And what I've noticed is people carry them around, because I've seen it happen to family members of mine too many times, where it's like, imagine you come into that room with a girl who's like, please come here, blah, 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 blah. Dude, the minute that you don't fucking do, like the minute you start standing up for yourself, like, whether that be just on an issue or like you're there to talk because she wants to talk to you, and she's like, but you did this, and then all of a sudden you're like, I never fucking did that. And then they're like, oh, are you really going to get loud with me right now? Because I'll pick up the phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, imagine you're in that world where you have somebody that you love, that you care about, that has convinced you that a lot of their actions are somewhat because they have problems and they need you. And then it's a little bit because of that you don't know how to, you don't know how to deal with them. And so some of it's your fault. And then you love this person and they're begging you to come see them, and you have a fucking restraining order, and you get there, and then they fucking turn back into a bit of a psycho. And I guess what I'm saying is that's not a cut and dry situation where somebody could say, well, he should have never showed up or he whatever else. Bro, when you love somebody, that's the kind of shit that happens. And there are some people out there, and I've dealt with them, where when you look back, it's like they really were bad people. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
They really were bad people. And the sad part is you only have yourself to blame, because it was like you had a weakness, they found your weakness, and they dug their heels in and just took advantage of it. So, it's your own fault, because you should have said, no, I'm not coming over. You should have whatever. But, I guess my point is, you're just as weak and vulnerable as them. And,
Right.
It's like, it's not a cut and dry situation where it's like, we're all fucked up. None of us are perfect.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Well, and again, I wasn't trying to say ever justify violence against women. I'm not trying to justify it against anybody in any situation. But like, for example, like, I don't know who the comedian was. It might have been Chris Rock, or if it was what's his name? who's the guy that got canceled?
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K. They were like, look, I don't agree with what OJ did, but I get it. Like,
Yeah,
like he was like, but I get it. Like he was paying for this woman, and then he finds out with another woman or another guy, like shows something else. And that's what I'm saying. So like I know somebody who I heard this story, like they're at like a party and like they're arguing, everybody's drinking, and the chick throws a dart at him, and lands in his fucking thigh. And everybody looked around and looked at him because he got really fucking pissed off and he stood up like you fucking and they were like, and everybody around was like, yo, yo, yo,
yeah.
not here, like not here. But like, so when you hear that he hit her, you kind of get it because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, it's one of those relationships. Like this is fucked up in every aspect. And it's not like this is some sweet, wholesome woman that does nothing wrong and he's just a monster that just lays her out. Like,
Well,
no, you're dealing with two very toxic people. And you can say, well, you know, you can never justify hitting a woman. And yeah, I agree. But what I'm saying is when you add those two together, it's not like as much of a shock.
well,
It's like when you hear about somebody who, like, you know, growing up was constantly running from the cops and chasing, you know, and doing crazy shit. And you're like, oh, that guy got arrested. You're like, oh, all right, that's not a shocker. As opposed to the smartest kid in your grade school. Like you hear about him and you're like, what the fuck? Like, really?
and dude, you know what I always say about women? I really believe this. One reason why women get to act the way that they do is if I was cheating on a girl, let's say, we'll just say I'm cheating on a girl, and I looked at you and we're sitting there, it's like you and a couple of friends, and I was like, hey man, I really like this girl, but you're looking over and I'm like, but I'm gonna fuck this girl tonight or something. Your friends will say to you, hey, dude, do what you want. But that girl's gonna break up with you. Like, in other words, like, you ain't getting no sympathy. Don't, like, if I came to you, if I'm going out with you and I'm like, yeah, I do what I want, dude. I tell that bitch to go fuck herself and I'm cheating on her and I'm whatever. When that axe drops, my friends are going to go, like, if I'm crying in your arms, you'll be like, dude, I get it, but like, don't be fucking other girls. You know what I mean?
Right.
Girls, I'm not saying all, I'm not speaking for all, but I'm telling you, I've dealt with this. So this is what I've seen in my life. It doesn't mean all girls are like this. But then I have seen girls where, like, I've looked over at friends and been like, I thought she dates so-and-so. And they're like, yeah, but he hasn't really been treating her right. Remember that I've seen these conversations. Treating her right, and I believe this is cultural stuff that's being put in people's head. The guy's not cheating on her. He just hasn't bought her flowers like he used to when they first met. You know what I mean?
Right.
And she's now being empowered and encouraged to, like, do promiscuous stuff while she's out because, you know, whatever. Then you see her crying about something, and when she looks to her girlfriends, they feel bad for her, regardless of what they might say behind her back. But here's the kicker. If I was to turn around to a girl and be like, do you think I was wrong because I cheated on my girlfriend because she wasn't treating me right? They'd be like, yes. And my friends have already told me, yeah, you're a pig.
Right.
But I've seen a million girls sit at my bar and say to, like, random guys that they're now flirting with, talking to, and be like, I mean, do you think I'm wrong? And what does that dude always say? Man, I'd buy you flowers every day.
Right. Right.
I'd do this every day. I'd hold your hand. I'd take you to the movies. I'd take you to dinner. And my answer to that girl all the time is, look, I could tell you what I would do today, but I can't tell you what I'd do for you in 2 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the thing is I don't think enough people, like, in other words, you're looking at a guy who's looking at you like a fucking you are a fucking deer with a bad leg left from the herd right now. You're like, well, I mean, what would you don't, wouldn't you, do you think I'm not beautiful? Oh, you are so beautiful. If I had you, bro, that's, you know what I mean? Like, and we're saying that now. I am not going to get that same pity from a strange, like I might go home with the girl or something. But if I was like, you think I'm wrong for cheating on that girl? They'd be like, yeah, you know what I mean? And
Right.
so, and when you said like an aggressive situation with a girl, I mean, a perfect example, without telling I'll tell the short of it. I was in a situation with a girl where we were living together, but yet she was all over the place, bro, cheating on me, whatever else. I didn't know none of this stuff, but it was, I'm Johnny Depp, bro. Like I don't know, I don't want to, I don't, I the grossest part is looking back, it was all right there in my face. But as I've seen with many other people that I communicate with and try and guide them through situations like this, what I've learned is don't find way, like women can manipulate you to where you literally get to this place where your friends are like, bro, she's doing this. And she was 2 steps ahead of this. And you're like, you don't get it. Like, okay, I know. She was with her ex-boyfriend the other day. I know. I know they went to dinner. I know because she told me and and oh, dude, I'm telling you, she's back with him. And it's like they set you up to believe like she, that she, whatever she's doing, you're rationalizing it because they've already played it for you.
Right.
And dude, I was in a bar because the worst part about it was the Eagles were playing the Ravens. I was in Philly. She was supposed to be in Philly. She was supposed to come home. She didn't call me for like 3 days. Then she called me and she's like, I got a job in Baltimore, but I'm just here for the day and I'm helping a friend who owns a bar and I really want to be with you. So I didn't call you for 3 days because it was breaking my heart that I had to be here, but I'm coming back to Philly, but I had to be here for this game and I really wanted to watch it with you. And I like got tickets to the game in Philly. Like I was going to surprise her.
Right.
And then because of the way she said it to me like that, I was like, you know what, dude? She manipulated me to think again that like it was my actions that were causing, like she was saying to me like I didn't call you because I was too afraid to tell you this because I love you and I wanted to be with you and I knew we were going to watch this game, that type of crap.
Right.
And so I was like, literally, we got off the phone and I was like mad. And then I was like, you know what? If I'm going to be the boyfriend that I should be, I'm going to get on a fucking bus and I'm going to go surprise her and I'm going to go to fucking Baltimore tonight and I'm going to go to her bar and I'm going to watch the game with her. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I get there. She starts introducing me to people, all excited. Oh my God, I'm so excited. And she literally was introducing me. I've been dating this girl for like a year and a half. So I thought. And she introduced me to people. Oh, this is Danny. This is the guy. Remember the guy, the Philly guy? Like she was introducing me as like the guy that I fuck or something,
Right.
And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no, you're the girl that owes me rent money. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm sitting at the bar and I started to become aware that like there was something going on that wasn't right. But all those people, see, what I look back now and what I see is everyone there, like she was so manipulative, so narcissistic that she was living like 8 different lives. So she was working at a bar that she said, like the girl told me she was just picking up one shift while I'm there. People were coming over like, oh, by the way, you're cool working you're going to work Wednesday for me, right? And then I'll work the Thursday for you. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I turned around and I was like, yo, can I talk to you for a second? And she was like, oh, I got to go somewhere. And I like grabbed her arm and I was like, yo, come here. We need to talk. But like, honestly, I didn't grab her arm like a maniac, but I grabbed her arm.
Right.
Like, bitch,
Right.
you can't, like, I'm sitting in my own world of craziness and you keep fucking jumping all over the place. So when I grabbed her, like all of a sudden, like it was like they were waiting for it, Fucking like a customer got up, the bouncer got up, the owner jumped over the bar. Yo, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? What am I doing? He's like, you can't touch my bartenders like that. I was like, it's my girlfriend. And like, it was almost like they looked at me like I was crazy when I said it.
Right, right,
And leaving it where it is, I never did anything to her, but I ended up like fighting these guys.
right,
Right. And I was never allowed back in this bar for a long time because basically what happened was two guys were basically a customer and a bouncer were trying to like fucking beat me up while I basically had the fucking owner by his fucking, I had my elbow in his throat, had him up against the fucking pillar of the thing. Anyway, uh, here's the thing that hurt me from that. I never even did anything with her, but her brothers and I were very close, and they're like very big motherfuckers, right? Two of them went to jail for a long time for dealing drugs.
right.
I've had a very good relationship with them, always have, but still to this day, it comes up where it was like they were debating beating the fucking living shit out of me because the story was kind of presented like because they didn't understand. They thought that we were broken up. They thought they were told a story like I just wandered in there and was like grabbed her by the arm and was like, come here, bitch, you know?
Right, right.
And so all I'm trying to say is like the story is never what it seems on the surface. And guys have this immediate reaction to be like you said about the dart, you know, like, hey, buddy, and honestly, that moment when you know the relationship you have with someone else, like, I don't know, like I can grab your arm if you're walking away from me too many times. Like it sounds bad. I don't even know how to say because it's like I would grab your arm. Like if we were at the bar and I'm like, Tom, and then I'd be like, yo, Tom, like you need to stay right here. I need to talk to you for a second. Like you're my girlfriend. I'm not grabbing you like I'm gonna fucking kill you. I'm grabbing you like, yo, you don't walk away from me because I'm about to lose my shit inside my head right now. And like I need you. You know what I mean?
Right.
But what I'm saying is that's that in that case, I would be like the first, you know, to like what I mean is the aggressor, maybe. And I could understand it. Like maybe somebody could say, don't grab her. But I'm sure we've all been in situations where like it goes the other way. Like, what if she was to start like, you know, I've been in situations where I'm trying to take a girl's car keys who's my girlfriend, and she's saying I'm driving home and she's fucking smacking me in the face, and I'm standing there taking it.
Right.
I'm like, you know, maybe at some point like if it's your girlfriend, if it's someone you care about, like they're smacking you in the face 100 times, A, you need them to stop, and B, you don't want them to drive. So what do you do? And my thing I used to say to people is, if I fucking grab you and put you in a fucking headlock and don't let you go, your whole family wants to beat me up because who the fuck am I to put you in a headlock and all your friends? Well, what's going to happen if I just throw you the keys and say, okay, I can't deal with you. And then you get in a car accident and you die. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Pretty sure the repercussions from that. So, I mean, I'm just saying it's really weird to say it's never okay to be physical with somebody. And by physical, I mean, whether that means to grab someone and contain them, you know, or something.
But yeah, I mean, dude, it's like everything. Human interactions are complicated, man. It's never just like an easy, like, again, anybody like those guys at the bar, they see you grab her, they have no idea of the backstory or like what's going on.
And she's a fucking beautiful girl, and they all been waiting for their moment to fucking stick their wiener in her. And that's where the guys have the problem. You know what I mean? Like girls that want to fuck you will talk to you on the side and be like, that's wrong. She shouldn't treat you like that.
Right.
But like dudes just stand up like, oh, like fucking brushing their feathers out. Like they're so quick to be like, well, you're a superhero. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. It's genetics, bro. It's but again,
you can't believe in that shit. It's not genetics.
Yeah, well, but yeah, man, like that's what I'm saying. Like, and it's complicated, and having this friend of mine that's kind of in the situation, it's like, how do you give advice? What exactly do you say other than, like I said, I'm like, I just hope you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Because it's like, if you're not gonna leave, you know the situation, and whatever. Like I don't even know how to explain it, what to do. And that's what I'm saying. Like when you see the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation, the immediate reaction again with the liberal media and all is always like, believe all women. And it's like, well, it's not that simple,
Yeah.
and clearly we're seeing that play out. And again, I'm not even trying to say that Johnny's like 100% innocent. I don't know if he laid hands on her or not. Even if he did, was there, okay, so we're gonna say like this woman smacked him around and talked shit to him for months and months and months and months and months, and then he had a slip up after one time and smacked her. Like, I'm not saying it's justified, but I'm saying, like, I get it. And that's what I mean. Like, when you're in these toxic relationships, like, you got to recognize it and you just got to get out when you're Johnny Depp, when you're Amber Heard, because it's not going to end. It's not going to end well.
Well, what I also realized, and I've been through it recently with a good friend of mine, what I've learned with these things is this: they're never going to see, people get so wrapped up that you become an asshole. Like, if you're like, basically you have you have a friend going, like, they're asking for your advice, but when you're telling them what's obvious, you look like the guy that's like, it's real easy to be like, dude, drop her, she doesn't like you.
Right.
And so they go like, so, but what it is what's weird is when someone gets manipulated, they make you not see what's actually there, and they wrap you in all these other things, like their emotions. Like, in other words, you might say, like, just to make up a scenario, you might say, like, you like that guy? Because I know when someone likes a guy, I can see the way you two act. I'm just making this up. And that girl will tell you something like on the side. Like, she'll go like, no. And she'll cry to you and then tell you something like in tears and say, I've just always been that way with him because I feel so bad what I did to him when I left him, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And now what happens is when you see them acting like that, your friends are like, looks like she wants to bang him. And you're like, no, that's, and it's actually like the dude on the other side is being like trained to dismiss the obvious from his friends. So you can't blame him. There's no way to break that. But what I've learned to do is I tell them it. And then I tell them, look, because you can't stop them. You know what I mean? But the thing you have to do is you almost have to be like, because it's very easy to predict the future and those type of things. So rather than keep like fucking getting on their ass where they just want to separate from you, I just tell them, like, look, I'm going to tell you what I think. And it's a worst case scenario. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this person is everything you say they are. However, I'm going to tell you what I see. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. However, if these things happen that I'm fucking predicting, you need to take them into consideration because they're red flags, period. You know what I mean? Right. So I'll accept your bullshit thing to me. But if she, I'm just making up a scenario, and maybe in that one, she calls you tomorrow, says she stayed over his house or something, or doesn't call you tonight or whatever else. I'm not saying you got to do anything. I'm just saying that's happening. You know what I mean? So I'll believe your thing. She's not like that. She whatever. But I do. I believe she's that. And I've seen that over and over again. And it's just kind of like, you got to think about it like the best advice you ever get, the shit you didn't pay attention to when you were younger. But then when it happened, there was nobody was going to stop it from happening. But the fact that you could like look at something afterwards and go, he was right. It gave you a connection, and the lesson was learned. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I feel that it's necessary, if you want to help somebody, that you fucking tell them what you see, and you tell them what you've learned. However, you also show them that you're not, look, like, I'm not here, because some people want to prove a point. Like, you ever go to a buddy and you're like, I don't know, man, this girl did this. And then all of a sudden they go like, in other words, like something else happens in your life. And they go like, told you, man, ever since you started fucking with that girl. And you're like, bro, we're talking about like trying to play the keyboard. Like, you know what I mean?
Right,
And
right.
it's like there are people out there that just want to fucking like they can't understand why you're still mad at them because they didn't pay their fair share at fucking dinner 3 weeks ago. And they just want to justify it by saying like you've been an asshole ever since you've been with this girl.
Right.
Nobody cares about that kind of advice because that really is coming from a guy. Like people always have their own agenda. You have to be very clear with the person. You have no agenda. Your only agenda is that they don't get hurt. And so I hope I'm wrong and I hope you're right.
Right.
But like, and I'm not going to get in the way. I'm not going to fucking sit here and tell you, you go out with that girl or you fucking whatever, don't fucking call me or whatever else. Hey, go do what you got to do. And if she fucking leaves you on the fucking highway with a fucking black eye at fucking 4 o'clock in the morning, call me and I'll come pick you up.
Right.
And I hope that never happens because you seem to tell me that I'm wrong about what I see. And I hope I'm wrong. And I hope to God that you guys fucking float off into fantasy land forever. But this is what I think.
Right.
And if it starts going that route, be very careful because it can get very dangerous. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
feel
you don't
yeah.
want to end up on CSI. Yeah, but I hate girls, bro. I hate them. They're fucking crazy. They're all Amber Heards. And you know what I hate about it all?
They're all Amber Heards.
And here's what I hate about them all. If you look like Amber Heard, you can shit in my bed. You can shit in my chair. You can blame it on the dog. You can fucking stick it in my shoes, whatever else. And I'll probably fucking come crawling back to you.
Right.
You crazy fucking bitch. But what's always good to see is like that Amber Heard and Johnny, like that. It's actually scary. It's a good lesson for men. And in both ways, it's like even Amber Heard is a crazy bitch. And even a guy like Johnny Depp can get destroyed. Like all that man did, he destroyed it for a girl that shit the nastiest shit I've ever seen in my life in his bed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And look how much power that chicks have. That man built a mountain of a career and he destroyed it because he started messing with a fucking crazy bitch.
It seems like I've heard that story before. You know, it's happened all too often. But yeah, man, I don't know. Bitches be crazy. Guys be crazy.
As my boss told me,
we all be crazy.
A guy who I hate now, but it was good advice. He said, boys, it's the bitches that'll get you.
Yeah, that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah.
But yeah, on that note.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna fucking pass out. I gotta hit the gym tomorrow again and go play a little more basketball. Oh, dude, and I'm not gonna talk about it, but I just want to say this to you because I don't think I told you. Did I tell you my wheel fell off on the highway?
You did.
It was just scary.
Which is pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next time, but that was fucking crazy, bro.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
But anyway, love you, dude. Let's make sure we do another one next week.
Yeah.
Like, not like I'm not putting it on you. I'm just saying, let's make sure we do another one next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll see what happens. I hope maybe some more interesting stuff happens. Like, we find another shit in the bed or something.
Yeah. We need some interesting topics to happen.
Dude, that's the nastiest shit I've ever seen. But that was the craziest part about that shit. I was not paying attention to that trial until that shit came about. And he was like, she left a grumpy in my bed. And I was like, what? Left a what?
That's the best part of it, that he called it a grumpy. I mean,
dude, that's me and my roommate all day long. I'm like, yo, we're going to gotta take a grumpy before we go out. I'm like, I was actually saying the other day, I'm like, isn't that amazing how I haven't seen it catch on, like it's caught on with me.
Right.
But like, that's how stuff happens that you don't know. Like 50 years from now, if people were like, gotta take a grumpy, like, you know, you'd have to dig through Wikipedia to find out where that came from. But like, It's grumpy in my world now. Gotta take a grumpster.
Yeah, dude, it's great. That's a great one.
All
All
right.
right.
Yep.
Thank you. Like, subscribe.
Yeah. Tell your friends. And if there's any hot girls out there that want to take a nice, nasty shit in my bed, you better be as fucking hot as you are crazy.
Right.
All right, brother.
All right.